butane torches to high and your expectations to low. Coming to you live from Liberty Pool Distillery in Washington, Pennsylvania. Get ready to get your fix. This is the Cigar Junkies Podcast.
What's up, junkies?
Yeah, it's a
That one
spirited
felt
crowd.
good, man.
Yeah, that's definitely going in the record book.
It's amazing
For
what a
the
little bit of
best junkie.
craft spirits does for everybody's spirits, isn't it?
It is. I think some of it might be my T-shirt.
Is that it?
It could be.
Let's go with your
because I'm teaching the people what the expression is right on the back
spreading
of
the
there.
junkie love
Spreading
today.
the cheer.
Just getting it out there for all to hear.
Everybody's so cheerful today. So we're not going to wait too far to get into it. We'll get into how was our week later on.
Yeah.
But we are hanging out. If you're unfamiliar, this is Liberty Pool Distillery in Washington, Pennsylvania, next to the casino off of Racetrack Road. It is a beautiful establishment.
Dude, I know.
We've got some cool footage Jason will be able to post onto the page a little bit later on to show you guys a little bit of the behind-the-scenes tour. But we have been blessed to be joined by the wonderful owners of this establishment that invited us in here today. We have Jim and Ellen. And, man, this place is amazing.
Thank you.
We appreciate you guys. Like, we're not usually allowed in places this nice.
Yeah.
We have a tendency to bring down, respectable establishments. So if your Yelp reviews...
That did not happen today. That did not happen today. You were you guys have been awesome. The whiskey pairings with the cigars have been incredible. And we are deeply humbled by your magnificence.
You can tell they've never watched the show yet.
Yeah, they don't know.
I keep saying that over and over again, and she hasn't been deterred by it yet. But I feel like there's going to be a point where she's going to be like, let's just see what we got ourselves into and be like,
Oh, no.
oh no. So how did this come about, right? Like, this is kind of like hey, we're kind of at the end of the work cycle parts of our life, right? Like, you guys got to the point where you're like, okay, like working that daily job's over. This is obviously a labor of love. But how did it develop?
Wow. So many stories. If you look over your shoulder there to the 10-gallon copper pot still, I had a hobby. I was a distiller on my back porch. I think we bought that, Ellen, in 2006.
The boys wanted to buy you a Father's Day present. And the truth of the matter was I was strongly against it. It is illegal to own a still in the United States. So technically, that's just a piece of art.
We won't tell anybody.
That's all it is.
That's all it is. It's just art. It's just art.
It looks very legal. The weld quality is just
top
fantastic.
notch. It's top notch.
All of it.
Yeah.
It looks like it's been touched up by you over the years for artistic purposes only.
Right, correct, Sam. That's absolutely.
You got to keep it clean.
But the bottom line is, I just had a fun time hobby distilling. I never intended to do anything beyond making some hooch on my back deck. And, it just got to the point, and you called it, right? It's career 2.0. I was nearing the end of a 30-year career in the investment industry, and I hated every minute of it. And I just couldn't imagine putting in my time so I could retire. And, I made some pretty good whiskey. So we sort of,
you did.
As a family, talked about, well, let's, maybe this is something that we could actually do legally. And
there's such a great history in Washington County for what happened here with the Whiskey Rebellion. So everything that we do, we try to be very authentic because we wanted to honor what happened here, because Jim and I had this crazy idea that we could save the world of rye whiskey and bring it back, what had been wiped out in 1920. So it's gone beyond any of what we expected. Don't you think, Jim?
Absolutely.
And that's a very good point, because your rye whiskey's phenomenal.
Thank you.
I am not a rye
local
whiskey
rye.
guy.
Yeah.
I've probably tried only 10 or 15. And there's only really been one rye that I've drank before today that I was like, yeah, I can imagine drinking this all the time. And yours is only the second one I've ever had that I'm like, this could be a week. I'm not going to say every day. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
I gotta call it out.
Angel's Envy.
Oh, okay.
They make a rye.
It's a
have you
very
had
good.
it yet?
Still
Jim?
haven't had it yet.
It's
Is
a
it any
very
good?
very good.
pricey rye.
I
Well,
don't
no, I
like
don't know
to-
why I say very pricey.
No, I mean,
it's
it's
more than their traditional bourbon.
it's $100 a bottle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's expensive for a rye.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I don't know what the prices are the other ones because I've never bought any of them.
Oh, yeah.
Even that one I stay away
You
from
know,
because
Jim.
of the price.
Well, you know, the dirty little secret about rye is that there's a factory in Indiana called MGP. They make a fantastic rye, and they produce it, and a lot of distilleries will buy it, and they will label it with their label. And so a lot of people that have tried 10 or 15 different ryes and didn't like any of them don't realize that they were all made at the same factory. And it's a 95% rye mash bill. So it's very spicy, very bold.
But when you say mash bill,
It's a recipe. So a mash bill is a recipe for making whiskey. And it's based on percentages of grains. So to be a rye whiskey, whiskey has to be made with at least 51% rye. And then the secondary and tertiary grains can be wheat, barley, whatever. But MGP makes a 95% rye. Rye grain is where all that spiciness comes from. So a mash bill that's 95% rye is going to be very bold. It's going to punch you right in the face. And a lot of people think that they don't like ryes because they've tried 8 different brands that really were all that 95% rye. Our mash bill's a little different. We're about 74% rye, 13% wheat. And so our rye is a little bit more approachable, I think.
So that sounds like if you were to go to an equivalent in the cigar world, right? There are people out there that love, Chichingo is a good example, the punch you in the face, peppery tobacco.
Yeah.
And there are companies out there like AJ Fernandez that make lines like Man o' War Diesel that are designed to give you just all of that all at the same time, all in your face.
Right.
And then there are blends that are, this is an ingredient that we want you to taste in a bigger blend, and it maybe might not be so aggressive. And I think that's probably comparable to how you guys approach it, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
no, I think that's really cool. So,
We got, it's like a hockey game in this.
excuse me for a moment. I will not be out nippled.
I got to ask, when you guys got the legal documents like the first day,
Yeah.
did the whiskey stop tasting as good? Was it like
It maybe was a little less fun to make, right?
Yeah.
Because at that point it became,
It's
I have to
pressure.
make it.
I have to make it. I have to make this work.
I smoke so many less cigars now
Yeah.
than I ever
Yeah.
did before
Yeah.
because I have to smoke
Oh,
cigars.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a backlog of like, so when I opened the
I
shop,
can help you
I
out
had
with that.
smoked 2 of every cigar in the humidor. I every cigar that I had there, I had at least 2 of, so I could talk about it. I knew that cigar.
Yeah.
Well, that list of ones I haven't had is getting bigger, and you're like, oh, it can't be that bad. Well, dude, when you got how many sizes and shapes and all that, a cigar,
and they all
I
taste
gotta
different.
try them all. Now it's kind of like, all right,
It's
well,
a job.
I want to try this, but I
Yeah.
want to try it with a fresh palate. So Tuesday morning, somebody was here on Tuesday morning when I got here, and they wanted a pairing with coffee, and they wanted to talk about it. So we smoked that, and son of a biscuit. Like, okay, here we go.
Biscuit?
Yeah, I was trying to being good, being Have.
Yeah, see, that's what happens here for whiskey tasting. We, the boys, when they want to blend barrels or something like that, want us to try something. You're not allowed to drink coffee for breakfast, and you're not allowed to brush your teeth. You have to come in with a real, authentic palate
True
that's
clean
not being
palate.
influenced. So
My son will be good at that.
I enjoy tasting the whiskeys, but I miss my coffee sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got a pitch for you guys, and if you use it, the only thing I ask is a couple of bottles. The next line, you should call it the Liberty Pole illegal. And then that way, say, hey, you got any illegal stuff here? You go, yes, I do. Here you go.
It's like everybody asking for Cubans at the shop. Like, hey, man, you
Right,
got
you
Cubans?
got it.
Right,
No, I
you got
don't.
any Cubans?
Sure don't.
Dave Garofalo made a brand called Any Cubans.
You got any
And,
Cubans?
and apparently the customers that asked, do you have any Cubans? When he said yes, he'd take them. They were very disappointed. They didn't seem to find it as
perfect.
funny as he did. But I think it's hilarious.
That is brilliant.
And
Oh
that's
my
what you
God,
get
that's-
with the illegal. I'm
that's
just
brilliant,
saying,
yeah.
just a couple bottles. That's all I ask. So it's an option there for you.
No, in talking with you guys, it's kind of been fun for me because, like, I didn't realize how much crossover there was between our worlds.
Oh, I
Just, like,
agree.
Like, I've known a lot of people that like whiskey and cigars, but I didn't realize, like, how much, conception all the way to consumption, these things are similar. I mean, it's a recipe. There's time, how much you age it, what you do with the tobacco, how you rotate, all that stuff. It's so similar, completely different, but similar in everything they do. And it just amazes me that they've come together to create, a time where I can sit down and say, hey, try this cigar with this whiskey because it does this, this, and this. And I get to hack the recipes of both. Sitting with you the other day was just amazing because we sat down and we went through the pairings and you spoke the language I was speaking and all that. And I think that's the beauty of cigars, right? We automatically speak the language together.
Yeah.
Because we're passionate about tasting stuff.
But I also think we have a great similar client base. The customers that we have love the craft. They love the art. They're sophisticated enough to understand what we've done. And it's really joyful to sit with you, Sam, and say, okay, this is how we made the whiskey. And you're like, well, this is the cigar. And you describe the layers of flavoring that I'm getting. It's so much more enjoyable. Makes my life so much more happier to be around artistic expressions of whiskey or cigars.
That's what it is. And actually, that's an awesome segue into the point I wanted to make most about this establishment. So if you have the privilege to walk around here, there is something cool at every turn.
Yeah.
You guys have an observation deck with deer mounts up there where you can kind of go and overlook everything, which is super cool. And it's not the coolest thing to me. The coolest thing to me is in the actual shop where you could buy bottles because they serve it, or you could buy bottles, which is fantastic. But they have a huge family painting. And that is the coolest thing to me. Is this old school painting of their whole family, like in a panoramic painting. And it is like,
but we're sitting there with the Whiskey Rebels who made Monongahela Rye so famous. They're actually dead now, but we have people that faked it.
Can I tell the story about?
Oh,
you
yeah.
can say anything you want, especially
this
if it's
is where
gonna
Jim says Ellen was right.
So it is. Ellen had come up with this idea. She wanted the family to come in and all the reenactors who do the street theater for the Whiskey Rebellion Festival dressed in period costumes. She said, we're going to do this portrait. And we're going to have the Whiskey Rebels on one side, the family on the other side. We're going to be sharing Pennsylvania rye. It's going to unite generations and time periods.
Right. And, very well said, Jim.
And we were like, this is the dumbest idea I have ever heard. And it was like 10-1 with Ellen being the only one who thought it was a good idea.
Try it one time.
But I will say that Ellen, what you said about there's something unique in every corner of this, it's all her. That she is the force behind the brand, the decorations, the vibe. So she had built enough capital that we said, okay, we owe it to Mom. Let's do this. It's only going to cost us a couple hours on a Saturday. We'll pay a photographer. The worst it can do is we're out a couple $100.
Yeah. It's a splash in the bucket for what you put into this.
We saw this final product, and it was amazing. I mean, she was totally right. It's just such a great portrait. It tells so many stories.
I think I made that decision while I was smoking a cigar, to tell you the truth.
Can I just run over there and look real quick? I'll be right back.
Please do.
I'm curious.
Excuse me. You can't. Yeah, you can go this way, but no, you can't get in. You need to.
You can get in.
You can't come back. It's all right. We don't need him. He runs away all the time.
I grew up in the Monongahela Valley, and the church I went to is on Whiskey Point.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is something that I have grown up with. It's been something that's been taught in our schools and stuff, like the Whiskey Rebellion, who Tom the Tinkerer was, and all kind of stuff like that. So this was something that has always interested me. And then to come here and see the rich history that you guys have poured into stuff like Monongahela Rye and the Whiskey Rebellion and the history behind all that, it absolutely tickles me.
If you want me to get sappy, I can tell you, I think the people have been the same from day one to now. I think it's the same strong Pennsylvania, hardworking personalities, loyal to their neighbors, helping them out, that made the Whiskey Rebellion shaped the nation. And I just feel like we have to honor that. It's not something that you do because you like you like to make whiskey. It's something you do because whiskey and cigars are fabulous together.
Sure.
And this is something that is worth saving.
That it has been something that has been so mired in the Monongahela Valley with the history and whatnot of the Whiskey Rebellion. And like I said, I absolutely love it.
Thank you, Jim. I mean, thank you. Did you hear him, Jim?
I did. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
and like you pull up outside, and you're like, oh, this is a nice looking place, but it's very much what you would think it would look like from the street.
Yeah.
It looks like, you know, a lot of the microbreweries and stuff that pop up, and you get in and you go looking around and you're like, this place is really cool. It's got a really good aesthetic, a really comforting feel. But when I saw that picture, it was something more than that. It felt like legacy. So even though this is like beautiful modern place to come spend an afternoon or an evening, or to just get away for a little bit, I walk in there and I see that and I feel like, okay, this is the family that came together to make this possible. And it's like that instant feel of, okay, this is something beyond this building that has just gotten put in. And again, it comes back to how cool is it? It was like, oh, let's get Dad a Father's Day present. And thank God they didn't get you a tie.
Well, so first off, the picture is awesome. It really is. And so 2 grandkids?
Two granddaughters.
Two granddaughters.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Is it one from each son or is it?
Yes, one from each son. They're 19 days apart.
Wow.
The kids have always been very competitive.
Holy
Yeah, so
Who won?
His are even closer
the
than
oldest-
that.
The oldest had the first.
Nah.
yeah.
I feel bad we didn't get a chance to meet him. No, you were talking about pulling up here and what you saw when you got here. So I pull up and I'm expecting, you guys don't open until 1 o'clock. So I'm like, all right, we'll pull up, we'll have some time, we'll get it set up, we'll chit chat, all that jazz. Oh no, I get here, there's 50 people
There was
lined
no
up at the door
parking spaces.
with their son outside with a pot of coffee and a bottle of the bourbon cream, walking down the line going, hey, you want coffee? To everybody. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, wait,
it looked like
I thought I knew how many people were coming for this. Like I'm usually pretty good at like, okay, here's the Facebook number. I know roughly what the Instagram number. Like I'm usually within like 15%. I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong. I'm really wrong. And then to come to find out, you guys had
Right. So every now and then, every barrel tastes different, and we blend them for a regular batch. We'll take the barrels that we think are grassy, and we'll blend them with the barrels that are oaky. But every now and then, you find a perfect barrel, and that's called a single barrel release. And when we find it, we just sell it to. It's not a lot of bottles. How many do we have, Jim?
This batch, we had 134 bottles.
And so I pulled in at 10:30, and there were already 6 people in line waiting to come. It's so much fun. It is good whiskey, but I just really appreciate the support that we get from the community and how much they love the beauty of Washington County nature.
Well, what was cool to me is, so I don't know what the deal is. All right, I pull up, I'm lost. I have her wait over by the cars, and I'm like, all right, let me go track down somebody. And I'm walking up. And I'm looking for you because we've met, but
Right.
I made sure to like stalk you guys a little bit, so I know what you look like. I know what Kevin
Gray
looks
beard.
how come it's okay when you do it?
like. Never mind.
He said
Different
stock,
story.
not creep.
Stock.
There it is.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's a key.
Stocking's okay.
Jim,
Creep.
you could go. You
Yeah.
can come on this show anytime.
He said
you
he
want.
knows you.
He knows me.
So I walk up and I see him doing that, and I was like, all right. So I'm like walking down the line, like sidestepping, and everybody who's in line's like, dude, they got plenty of bottles. You're here early enough. Feel free to get. And everybody's super happy to be waiting in line. I don't know about you. I'm not happy to wait in a line. I am not.
Generally.
What's that? In the rain. In the rain. And I'm like, wait, what? Everybody was in such a good mood. And I was like, and I thought about it more while we were setting up. Everything about your personalities and your demeanor, you can feel it as soon as you walk in. Your customers emanate it. Like the positivity, and I don't mean positivity in a bubbly rainbows and unicorn. Like you guys are just
Not that
genuine,
there's anything
good,
wrong with it.
Good, nice, happy people.
It's
And
kind of like walking into your place, Sam, though. I thought that was exactly the same way I felt.
well, that makes me so happy. Like that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate what you guys have built and the community that you guys have built, you know, especially as a guy that grew up right there, you know.
Oh, wow.
This would have been nice.
Yeah.
Like, you know, anything like it would have been, you know, granted 30 years ago, but like it would have been nice. So, but no, thank you guys.
I'm
for
happy
Thank
to
you.
do that.
No,
I don't
that's-
think we've been able to
that
do
means
it.
a lot.
20
That means a lot.
It was weird, man, because you pull up and you go like, are they giving something away today?
Right.
Is it free bourbon day? Like, there's one thing to have a line at your door. It's another thing to have a line at your door for people waiting to give you their money. Like, that's impressive. It really is.
It's an honor.
Yeah,
It's an honor, and you know the whiskey community and kind of the whiskey movement right now is just a beautiful thing, and people seek out unique whiskeys, and single barrels fit that bill to a T, right?
Yeah.
Every barrel that we release is different, and you can only get it once. You know, we'll do a single barrel next month. Even if it's bourbon, it will be different than the single barrel we released today.
Right.
And I think that uniqueness really drives the line and the demand that people want to experience that.
Yeah. No, so we had kind of briefly talked about it when you were at the shop. I'm going to blindside you with this.
That's typical.
So I've had a couple people at the shop ask me about it already, and I think I have enough people to do it, but we were thinking about coming and trying to do a barrel pick. Is that the correct terminology from it?
Yes.
So, trying to get a group together for that, and then possibly doing one for the junkies, which, again, this is the blindsiding him part, have not even
I'm just
hinted
happy
at
to
it
be
at a
involved
thing.
in the conversation, because it's usually, this is what I'm doing at just a tip, and I'm like, I like doing stuff too, Sam.
But so what's it take to arrange that? Like, how many bottles are you looking at? What's the process? Like,
So our and we are very much in the infancy of our single barrel program. We've done a few. We're going to do more as our barrels mature. But the process is basically you will get a group of 3, 4, 5 people. You'll come in. We'll tour the barrel house. We'll actually, if you tell us what you're interested in, if you want a bourbon, if you want a rye, if you want a peated bourbon, we'll find 4 or 5 barrels that are what you're looking for. We'll thief samples.
so that's the
Pull
just
it
reach
out.
You're
out.
making
Right,
fun with
right.
that illegal talk
Yes.
again. See, that's where it's a good time.
But
now.
it'll be our best barrels.
It'll
right,
be our
Jim?
best barrel.
Yeah.
Good barrels, mature barrels.
Yeah.
We'll go up to our little private room, and we'll let your group sample the different barrels. If you find a barrel that you can all agree on, then we'll mark that as the Cigar Junkies barrel or just the tip barrel. We'll bottle it for you, and then you will have people that will want to buy those bottles from you. Generally, a 53-gallon barrel, it will yield anywhere from typically 180 to 220 bottles. The barrel we did today was a little short. It had some evaporative loss. We only had 134 bottles out of this barrel. So barrels are, you never know what you're going to get.
I want one of those ones. I'm a little short myself.
Well, so sorry, you saying that made me think. What is the difference between the Devil's Cut and the Angel Share?
So
Good question.
Angel Share is just the evaporative loss, right? So as whiskey sits in that barrel for year after year, it evaporates, and those vapors escape the barrel, and they end up in the rickhouse rafters, and that's where the angels sit, and that's their share, right? They are guarding our whiskey. They get to enjoy the evaporative vapors that escape the barrel.
Both of our dads.
Yes,
are there.
both of
Yeah.
our dads.
Yeah.
Are.
Yeah.
The Devil's Cut is
One of them with a cigar.
Oh yeah.
Devil's Cut is a marketing term that I think it's Jim Beam came up with. So what they do?
It's a good.
I love the
marketing scheme.
embrace of it. Like, yeah, that's marketing.
So when you dump a barrel, so we dump barrels all the time. There's usually a little bit left in the barrel, and there's not
Soaked
only
into the wood.
soaked into the wood, but also just kind of laying around that you can't get out. So what I think it's Jim Beam. What they do is they will add some water, some RO water, and they have a like a vibrating whatever
Shaker. Yeah, my
shaker
attention.
Yeah.
that they will put that barrel with
Calm
a
down.
little bit of RO water on this vibrator. Sorry. Yeah.
you all right over there? Corey's sweating now, guys. He's getting all
Sorry,
excitable.
didn't mean to use the word vibrator.
Twice.
They will put it on this
Yes, you did.
vibrating unit, and they will shake it violently. And so they are drawing out as much of the whiskey that's in that wood as possible. And then they dump that out, and they proof down the whiskey with it.
Yeah.
So that's the Devil's Cut.
That's really cool and unique. So is there any more like that kind of terminology? Because those are the two I've heard, but like, are there any non-marketing versions of that are good examples of what you guys do? Like thieving a barrel, angel share. What's the lingo?
Oh, the best one is, and we always get this out
I
of
like
the way.
how he looks at me immediately. This is gonna be good.
Yeah, the best one. Do we have an explicit label on there?
Yeah, we all work.
Say
This is
anything
not-
you want.
Good. All right, good.
YouTube asks you, "Is this made for children?" I
Yeah.
hit no every time.
So this is we always get this out of the way early to get everybody's 8th grade humor out of the way. But a barrel, right? It has an opening, which is called a bung.
Yeah.
All right.
I like where we're headed.
Actually, the stopper that goes into the barrel is the bung, and it goes into the bung hole.
Yes, it
Right.
does.
So that's kind of the juvenile humor in a distillery.
Every time we use the term "devil's cut" and it's in the wood, I just get an image immediately in my mind of Jason, Barney Gumbo style, trying to suck the alcohol out of the barrel. Just his feet flailing out of the
You know
top.
what? I can actually picture that
Yeah.
pretty efficiently. You can just hear the beard scratching at the inside of the barrel
That's right.
occasionally. Hey, Ellen. So because you are smoking something a little different than us, I was going to ask you, go ahead and try this because this is the one of our pairings you haven't tried yet.
Well, that was the one you were telling me about.
This is the one I was the most excited about. So I don't know
like
what
the
you're
way
drinking
you do
right
the
now.
V-cut. I'm drinking peated, which is my favorite. It
Okay.
has a
Well,
little bit of
once you
scotch.
move on from that, let's do this with the weeded.
Okay.
Sorry, I want to give her
Oh,
some
you
time.
want me
with
to
the-
pair this with the weeded bourbon?
Well, I did.
So what you're telling me here is that I have this beautiful striped cigar in my hand,
They refer to
And-
that as a barber pole.
and so
Barber pole.
Barber pole.
a barber pole. It looks exactly like it. So Jim, remind me of the mash bill of the bourbon again.
Wheated bourbon is 72% corn, 18% wheat, and 10% malted barley.
So why am I pairing this barber pole? Why do you think this is so good?
So I'm going to we're not really doing, for anybody listening, we're not really doing a breakdown of the cigars this week because if you haven't noticed, we're all smoking different
Sam,
stuff.
what's the cigar of the week? These
So-
three. How do I do
Yeah,
that?
but
How do
Sam,
I put that in the notes?
You have made my whiskey taste so much better with these cigars that I
And that's
have
the whiskey
to know.
that you guys made. So that's the fun part.
Star sticker for Sam.
So that actually has 3 wrappers on it, hence the 3 blends. But what's cool is it's not just 3 wrappers. There's 3 wrappers, there's 2 binders, and I can't even remember the amount of fillers in it. It is just a pure amalgamation of tobaccos that they have put together. Sam Lucia is the blender on that. And
Sam.
Yep. His taste palette is just something to be envied. The guy knows tobacco so well and all that. Yeah, sorry. And one of the motivations to that, the 3 blends, is the 3 Rivers of Pittsburgh. So it's actually a representation of that. So the owner of Veritas Cigars is from Pittsburgh. He has that, and he has the 412 that are both Pittsburgh homage.
We know
cigars.
Sam, don't we, Jim?
Well, Sam doesn't own
this is Sam.
Sam doesn't own that
Oh.
cigar company, but he did work with them on that cigar.
Wow, there is a lovely, almost corn grain finish on the end of this cigar. Now I'm going to take this. So what's good about this is there's a lot of corn in here, but the wheat that you guys have added makes it soft. It's like white bread. Whatever you put on top of white bread, wheat bread, it tastes better. So I'm just saying right now that I think this is an amazing pairing. Wow.
So the reason that I chose that cigar is the hayseed in the barnyard that comes from that cigar because you get a lot of like cocoa notes and deep wood notes out of the Maduro wrapper that he put on there. And I can't remember the whole blend
Cocoa
on
at the
that.
beginning, right?
Yep.
But
then you get that hayseed finish on it. And
damn, is this good?
The way I've been describing it to your customers that have been coming over for the pairings is everything that's great about whiskey. The first thought almost everybody has is caramel vanilla, right? I mean, that's the first 2 notes on almost any bourbon.
On
Caramel
a nice
vanilla.
bourbon, caramel vanilla. Yep,
I love
yep,
that
yep.
cigar because it takes the caramel and the vanilla and it sticks them at the bottom and it brings up all the grass notes and all the natural notes to it. So that's why I chose that pairing, because you already have a great whiskey. Let's see what it tastes like if I change it just a little bit. And that's the reason for the pairing on that one.
My focus on whiskey is there has to be a finish. And that means we're putting a little bit more tails in, right, Jim? We're putting in a little bit more of the longer fuselage. It's too much science. But bottom line is, when you...
Dude, I'm going to interrupt you to say that is the coolest thing. Whenever I brought in a beverage, was like, well, let's mix this together. She's like, can I have one that we can take to the lab? I'm like, that is so cool.
No, dude. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm go ahead and finish your statement.
Well,
then I got to tell you about Monday.
But the only thing I was going to say is, if the whiskey doesn't have a long finish, it isn't worth drinking. I'll just drink a beer. So I love the long finish, meaning that I feel it in my throat and my mouth long after I've finished. This cigar is the same darn way. There's a different taste at the very beginning, and then there's like so many core notes. Yeah, the cocoa, but the notes of that barnyard are just magnificent.
Yep.
So now this is prolonging the whiskey. The whiskey is prolonging the taste of the cigar.
And
Magic.
They're competing and complementing at the same
And
time, which I
complementing each
really
other.
enjoy that about
You
it.
nailed it. Nailed it.
You were talking about that, the lab thing. So she was at the shop on Monday. She brought a couple whiskeys with her. We're sharing it. We're talking. And I believe it was Calvin that had asked you about, malting. I think he asked about malting.
Right, yeah.
Bro, she reverted. She went all the way back to I'm an engineer. And she started spouting off words that we don't use. She's fusel and long chain, this and that, and explaining the breakdown of the chains to create the sugar. And I'm like, I both simultaneously love this and feel like an absolute idiot at the same time. This is amazing.
It is like when you're already drinking, it's easy to feel stupid. But when she starts talking the science behind it, I'm like, oh, I'm real dumb.
I think you have to know the science. I think you have to know your cigars too if you're going to have quality.
Chichingo,
Of our guests here,
let's go.
because I actually just read something at Cigar Aficionado, and I didn't understand what it meant. You've been talking about it now.
Chichingo says he read something in Cigar Aficionado, doesn't understand what it meant.
Barley. Somebody said they still did the floor malting. What exactly is malting?
What is malting barley?
I see Jim getting ready like,
yeah, let's go. It's my
I can
time to
handle this
shine,
one.
baby. Okay.
I can handle this one. So
I'll just enjoy my cigar.
So malting, you can malt any grain. Barley is the grain that is most commonly malted. Malting basically means that you are germinating that grain. So floor malting is you get a bunch of unmalted barley, raw barley from the harvest. You lay it on a floor. You keep it warm and moist, and it eventually is going to germinate. And when that germination happens, a chemical reaction takes place in that seed that produces enzymes that convert starch to sugar. Sugar is the food that feeds the growing plant, but it's also that enzyme is what we need to create the sugar that the yeast consume to create alcohol in fermentation. So malting a barley is germinating it and drying it, and then we use that malted barley to convert our unmalted grains like corn and wheat, convert the starches to sugar, and that's what produces the alcohol that we distill.
You just illustrated the reason that you were able to do all this is because you guys both like know what you're talking about. They're like, this is the difference between the still down in the woods where the cops won't see it and being like, nah, let's start this huge giant production.
that was the Corey and Sam version. I'm telling you, what she said the other day was the long chain version. Like,
Well, I
he
think
broke it down. It was already
You
sucraless by
left
the time
out
he
the
gave
floor
it to us.
malting, which is really hard work. They just throw the seed on the floor and spray it with water and rake it every day.
They turn it over. They keep it from molding. Yeah.
It's similar to tobacco because they do the same thing, turning the polones.
Right.
But
I'd be
most
curious how about
malters
that.
don't do that anymore. They do it chemically or in trays and factories, and I think floor malting is super cool.
The dirt is where the taste is, man.
Well, the dirt comes from once you've germinated that seed, you have to stop it so you can ship it to us who are making it, and they stop it by heating it, and they use different ways of heating it.
Most American Canadian malts are dried in a kiln that's heated with natural gas. But in Scotland, historically, they did not have natural gas. They didn't have a lot of hardwood out there, but they had a ton of peat bogs.
Hell yeah.
So they would dig up bricks of peat, and they would use that to fire their kilns to dry the malt. And peat is very smoky. It's an organic, it's a wet fuel. So the smoke would just get into this grain as they were drying it, and it made it all the way through the whiskey making process.
Like there's other smoking. We've tried cherry smoking,
Right,
mesquite.
we've done mesquite.
It's not
yeah.
as strong as peat.
Well, you were mentioning that to us. Like, you don't know why. Nobody can really answer why peat stays in the taste where everything else kind of fades out a little bit. I think it was Monday you were talking about.
Yeah, and I was saying that I heard one of the guys explaining it said it's because God wanted us to have a good whiskey.
Sorry,
the older
That's as good a reason as
just
any.
cutting off for 1 second. Look at the security behind these guys. Like,
what
y'all
it
look
looks
like the junkies mafia right now behind them. Like the black shirts, the glasses. Yours are darked out on screen.
We do have one of the enforcers.
Yeah,
on the
like
end there.
y'all look like y'all about to take somebody out. Like, come mess with Ellen, I swear.
Yep.
So-
yep.
I
These
was
are
gonna
my
say-
guys.
Yeah, Jay.
If you want a more folky description of how it's done, a band from the '60s called Traffic covered a song called John Barleycorn, which is really good.
Huh.
All right then.
With his random music knowledge.
Wait a
Yeah, that's
second,
right.
I know that song.
Yeah, they sing about the
Jason got
process of the whiskey.
Listen to that. Okay.
Yeah.
That's my era.
Hey, I'm going to jump out real quick
Yeah, I
and give
got you.
Kevin a chance to see
My-
if he wants to come sit down with
Yeah,
y'all.
go for it. So my vibe, you can ask Sam. I always have to make a pitch for a T-shirt. I get these ideas in my head. Have you ever seen the T-shirts that say it was made popular by Game of Thrones? That's what I do. I drink and I know
Oh
things.
yeah, I drink and I know things. Yeah.
I think we need junkie T-shirts where they're say, "That's what I do. I get drunk and do science." Because that's essentially, I drink and I do. I don't want to say drunk.
Yeah.
Because you guys are a level of intelligence, even drunk, probably beyond the average consumer. But
We don't get drunk because our livers have been doing push-ups for the last
they're
20
pickled.
years.
They're
Yeah.
pickled.
Oh,
Yeah.
for God's
Put
sake!
that liver
Here
aside at
comes
the
the
end.
kid.
All right.
So I heard Mom and Dad were talking lies, possibly. Talking smack on Rob and I.
Oh, now, damn. This is why you got to bring the ginger in. They always stir the pot.
There's always something.
This is my youngest son, Kevin.
What's up, Kevin?
He's the one
Welcome
who
to the
can
show.
always convince Mom of anything. And so we opened the distillery and we get this phone call. Kevin was working in Houston as an electromechanical engineer, and his brother was working as a mechanical engineer. And they call us up one day and they say, "You guys need to have dinner with us." And immediately I thought they were going to tell us, "Why did you spend all of our inheritance on a distillery?" And yet Kevin that night, he is an amazing kid. He sat there, he's convinced me of everything. And he sits there and he says, "We all have different talents. Why are we not a family distilling?" Kevin, did you think my response was effective that night?
Well, we're here now, so I don't know if that
do you
was
remember
effective
what
or
I
not
said?
effective.
I said no. No, because whiskey you make it and then you put it in barrels and you have nothing to sell. It takes a long time. And we kept telling them, no, don't give up your good careers. Do you have any regrets, Kevin?
Not a single one.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I got a couple of segues here. How old are you, Kevin?
31.
Okay. Was Hill's Department Store still a thing whenever
No.
he was a kid?
I do not recall that. Yeah.
No. So I got to ask because it strikes a very similar pathology of mine where when I was a child, we'd go through the toy section of the department store while Mom was looking at clothes. And then Mom would come to get me. I'd be in the toy section. And I'd have the pitch for like why this is the only toy I've ever wanted, and you don't have to buy me anything for Christmas or my birthday. Is that Kevin?
Yes.
I felt like we were vibing there. As soon as you said the sales pitch, like when I was a kid, like I'd watch. There was nothing good on TV when we were kids, right? Like if you were in the depending on what you had access to, okay.
Right.
So I'd sit at my grandma's house, turn on whatever was on the TV, and then eventually I'd come into the kitchen where my grandma was inevitably preparing dinner, and tell her why she needed to buy OxyClean.
convincing too. You were.
I'd be like, hey man, this product's incredible. Like, did you know that it'll take out blood stains? I feel some camaraderie in that vein.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we also joke too that they started the distillery, so because we were unemployable and needed a job. So
that's good. See, now she asked the question of like, did you just blow our inheritance on a distillery? It's like, man, if you were going to spend it on anything, booze is a good. That's a good inheritance right there, man.
We
like,
feel
who's
very lucky
about that.
Yeah.
But I do feel the need to jump in here and say that without Rob and Kevin,
totally agree.
we wouldn't be where we are. Those guys, I'm an old guy. I can't move the heavy things that we need to do in a distillery. And Rob and Kevin have been here pretty much since day one, and they do all the distilling now, and they've got amazing palates, and they're smart as can be, and God bless them. And
clearly very intelligent genes. All the engineers in your family.
Absolutely.
We're thankful for mom and dad.
But we're thankful for Kevin. I think he is an amazing kid, and I'm very blessed to work with him every day. How do you like these cigars?
I was going to say, should we rip on Rob while he's not here?
So I was going to ask.
Rob's not here.
How do we feel about
pretty
the other
typical for Rob.
Rob's busy on Sunday.
Wow. Well, that's important though. Like that's probably a really big reason you guys have a line at the door before you're opening, right? Like there's a million choices in the cigar world, a million of them. I stay away from certain ones just because I know they're owned by a corporation.
Right.
I would rather buy a product from somebody whose face I can see and know the company belongs to this guy and is going to his kids, or the kids are currently working, or they're 3rd generation. That's a big deal, man. Like in a world with all of these huge companies that own everything, and the American dream getting harder and harder to build something for yourself, wouldn't you rather give your money to something that you know is owned by a family like yours, that's being passed down and shared? And that's really cool.
If you walk into any spirit store, liquor store, and you walk down the whiskey aisle, even though there are multiple labels and brands, most of those are owned by, what is it, Kev? 7 international conglomerates, and none of them are based in America. I mean, they're all foreign companies, most of them,
or boards of directors, right? Like Faceless, and that's the cigar world. Cohiba, Monte Cristo, La Gloria Cubana, Aroma de Cuba, like all these big popular companies that everyone's like, oh, I know that name. That's got the history behind it. Yeah, it did. And then some big company bought it and started making it with the cheapest products and ingredients that they could get their hands on. And those are cigars that I just have no interest in smoking.
And I do think that the family environment that we foster here really resonates with people. I mean, I think people are a lot like you in that they want to support local. They want to support, a craft business that's family owned. And, if you come in here, anytime we're open, there will be a huff here talking to you. And I think, I think people really find that refreshing.
I think the best way to measure your success as parents, and I think my wife's family has done an incredible job, which is not to say anything of my own, but I think the best measure of your success as parents is they go away, right? When they're teenagers, they have to separate and go out on their own and become their own people. But if they come back to you and they want to spend time with you after they've had a little bit of time in the world, and just go, no, man, like I want to go hang out with my family. We're going to party together. We're going to do things together and have activities together. Like for them to come back and be like, hey, let's do this together. That is, I think, the best success that you can have. Screw financials, screw company success. Like the fact that your kids were like, no, we want to come back and do this with you. This seems fun and we believe in it. I think that's the highest praise that you can get from anybody, really.
Kev, any comment?
I was gonna say, what if I say I'm tired of hanging out with mom and dad now?
Or just you were out of money.
He couldn't find a job.
Seemed easier to ask for a job than an allowance.
Yeah. No, you're totally right, and especially Rob and I both just had our first babies, and so now mom and dad are grandparents, and
Babysitters.
yeah, free babysitters, and the girls come in and they help make whiskey too now too. So it's the biggest honor we could ever have.
That's
And
so cool.
yeah,
The having the kids here.
Aw,
That's so cool. My
it's
kids
awesome.
love coming to the shop, and it's only rare occasions when there's nobody there that I let them come in.
Yep.
But man, that I can only imagine like here is really just gotta be a giant playground.
So there's a little
Get out of
How
the
old are
still.
they now?
about a year.
Oh no, yeah, no. It
So they-
gets better.
It gets yeah. There's a
Tastes
a little
like baby.
there's a little mini chair that the girls sit on, and it kind of looks like the commander's chair.
I understood that.
As they overlook the distillation process. It's cool. So
As soon as they can walk, we're giving them a broom.
yeah.
Put them to work.
Well played there, Grandpa.
Yeah.
Well played.
Yeah. No, but
But like that's good too, because work ethic's going to be ingrained from the beginning too.
Absolutely.
Like you hear about, and that's another like interesting parallel. Like whenever you talk to a second generation cigar maker, you know, you always hear, no, like I was in the factory since I was a kid, and like I had to do every job.
Yep.
My dad made me push a broom before I could touch tobacco. I had to turn the polones. I had to go do all the hard work and build my way up. And like, how great is it that you know, hopefully Liberty Pull becomes a generational legacy that those kids are going to have the option one day to say, no, let's keep doing what our family started. That's an awesome thing to pass down. And you know, if somebody takes a swim in some bourbon, you know, things happen.
oh yeah. No, I think that's a really cool goal, and God willing, we'll be lucky enough to have that. I think we just keep trying to make good whiskey and give people really good whiskey experiences, and I think that stuff comes.
So this is going to be a little tricky because we're kind of all over the place, but we are kind of smoking a lot of similar cigars. Why don't we go ahead and play a bump for Sam on the cigar of the week, and then he can tell us what options are out here. It's time for the Cigar of the Week, brought to you by Just the Tip Cigars. Are you looking for the best selection of boutique cigars? Do you want the tried and true legacy brands that are synonymous with the cigar lifestyle? Do you want luxurious cutters, lighters, and other accessories? Do you want to relax in the most comfortable cigar lounge in the burg? Then you want Just the Tip Cigars. Conveniently located in the Bavarian Village Shopping Center in South Park, Pennsylvania, Just the Tip Cigars has been tailor-built to your smoking needs. Whether you visit in person or on the web at justthetipcigars.com. When it comes to cigars, Just the Tip is the whole package.
So I have to say, no matter where I've worked ever, we've always had industrial equipment. We've always had super sacks, and the shaker has always gone off at the wrong damn moment, no matter what. Did I read that correctly? Was that a shaker I heard?
That was a pressure relief on the air
I
compressor.
can't get it. Yeah. Oh, okay. I was gonna say it sounded like a shaker for me. I was like, man, that's going down. So as far as the cigars go, we have a vast variety of cigars that we're going with. So
I think we're mostly smoking the Barber Pole, which you've
I-
talked about a little bit.
I kind of pushed that one through just because it's such a unique cigar. Also, Jim, you have the Lucid Interval, which is a Candela over top of San Andreas Maduro. So that goes really well with your rye. I believe, were you drinking the rye with that?
Yes.
Okay. And so the reason I liked that with the rye for me personally was you get so many grass notes out of it that the caramel, the vanilla, the classic bourbon notes that are there, or rye whiskey notes that are there, along with that Candela, I feel like you actually taste rye, like the rye seeds on your toast more when you have that cigar involved than you normally would. I chose that to accent it and to increase what I thought you were going for. How'd I do?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And you said you're not a big cigar
I'm
guy.
not. I am. I'm probably the. How do I want to phrase this? The least cigar smoking Hoff.
Fair enough.
Not anymore.
We could do something about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, we got 2 in them in one day. And then the other option that I had was the Neanderthal with the peated. Admittedly, that pairing wasn't done to the quality I would have liked because I haven't had it in a couple of years, and I went off memory on that one. We talked about it. I gave it to you to try.
I don't think, honestly, Sam, I thought that was excellent with the peated. I can't believe you're second guessing that.
There's a couple cigars out there that next time we have the opportunity, I'm going to give you that I think are going to be more appropriate to it. They're going to give you, because that broadleaf on the Neanderthal has a very full body sweetness to it. It's got a very full body sweetness to it that I feel like some of the other Maduros that I have in my repertoire are going to actually help step it up. Plus, there is 1 or 2 Connecticut's I have that are very creamy but full body that are going to work in contrast with it. But I think they're strong enough to hold up. So I'm curious, once I start playing with it.
What are you looking for when you're pairing this? Because, like I said, I love a scotch where I lick the back of a fireplace.
Yeah.
What are you looking
That
for?
is the coolest description I've ever
Right?
heard. Can somebody write that down?
So when I do 3 pairings for anything that I do in my head. I do a contrast, a complement, and all right, I think it'll be good. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, I think these will taste good together. Like orange and chocolate. You would never think they would complement, contrast, or, go together. But orange and chocolate go together well.
Pineapple and jalapeno.
There's certain right. There's certain things that just work even though they don't make sense. So I always try and leave that option open when I'm pairing something. So as soon as I tasted the wheated, that cigar, that 3 blends came to mind. That was an easy one for me. I knocked it out. With some of the other ones, I prefer contrast pairings. I like sweet and spicy. I like salty and sweet. Like, I like contrasting things working together to make both things stronger in their own ways. So I tend towards contrast. With the wheated and the rye, I wanted to go more along the lines of complementary to kind of take what I liked about those whiskeys and make it so I taste that note more. So I love grass and hayseed. You and I have in common. We both like
totally.
Candela.
Yeah.
Do you know that's like the least favorite of like cigar Candelas are everybody dislikes Candelas. It really, like, I don't know how to put it. It's not popular, but I love them.
Yeah.
You love them. So it was like, all
I
right.
thought President Kennedy smoked them. Candela.
I don't know. I
And
know
that's the last time, and that was the last time Candelas were popular, was in the 60s.
The thing that cigar companies like about Candela is you don't age them.
I was going to say,
they're
it's cheaper.
cheap.
It's
Oh
more
yeah, the
cost-effective.
turnover's
Yeah.
a lot faster.
Yep.
If it's done well, they could be really great. But the problem is you're going to have a lot of burn problems most of the time because it's a wetter tobacco, right? It's not fermented as long.
Wow, I got to get better. I got to know cigars better because I didn't have any trouble with the Candela that Sam gave me. It was fabulous. And
No.
Jim's
You
smoking it
don't
right now.
have to get better because if you were to go back through our catalog of shows and listen, the thing that matters is what you like.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that matters.
That's what we
There's
say
a
about
cigar you
whiskey.
like.
Same with
Yeah,
whiskey.
We say that
There's
about whiskey.
cigars you like and cigars you don't. That is it.
Yeah.
And that's for everybody. You know what I mean? Hopefully you can learn a little bit more and improve your experience with them. But there's the ones you like and the ones that you don't. And don't let anybody ever lead you to believe that what you like is wrong. Because it's subjective. It is what you like, not what everybody else likes. It's what you like. And to the point of the pairing that you were making with Sam on the Neanderthal?
Neanderthal.
Roma Craft, the nice thing about them is they use generally pretty strong flavors in their cigars. And that's
Not to be confused with high
Strength.
nicotine or strength.
No,
Good,
just
they use
flavor.
bold flavors.
So your cigar's not going to get lost in a strong drink. So if you have a strong beverage and a strong drink, you're not going to lose one and the other. They're going to stand up to each other, even whether they're complementary, whether they're opposites. But the important thing is that you're going to get something out of both of the experiences. So back to you. I don't want to derail you.
So that's why I'd kind of gone along those roads with the picks that I made. the best part about pairing stuff, though, like my favorite thing is, no matter what, there's always one better.
Ugh.
There's always.
I have to bring over another bottle of Peat, it is what you're saying, to just the tip, and we'll sit around and smoke some
We'll
cigars.
just have to work through the whole humidor together and
It's
get that
called
exactly
research,
perfect.
Sam.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah,
That sounds tax deductible.
I feel like we can get
AF.
volunteers to help us too.
I would love it.
Yeah, I see hands going up.
Deductible and fun.
Kevin, will you join us?
Absolutely.
Are you disappointed in your mother?
Not at all.
Okay, good.
I'm proud of my mother.
Jim, I invited them. I said, on the extraordinarily minute chance that it ever happens, I'd love to get the four of you guys together, come to the shop. We'll take the back room of the shop, and just the four of us will sit down and we'll smoke a couple cigars with a couple things. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on exactly the discussion we're having, and then let you guys kind of pick my brain, and we can work back and forth, because I feel like it'd be a great way for us to kind of be like, all right, what happens if ... Because you guys are going to have a completely fresh perspective, especially you not being big into cigars. Right. You're going to have a really unique perspective, because I get to reach out to a ton of really experienced people all the time who unfortunately are set in their ways.
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's go. I can't wait.
Ready. Count me in.
Kevin's in.
He's
Kevin's
like,
in.
Huff, stay out. Huff, stay out. I'll take it. They said they have grandkids. They're grandkids.
Grace,
bud.
Hannah,
like
get
one of
on the
Grace
stills.
and Hannah are on the
Maggie only
stills, baby.
episodes of The Simpsons.
Yeah. Dude, I honestly, I would love to just walk around behind you guys and just watch for a day. Like I would
not let him
ecstatic.
walk behind you.
Bad idea. Sam, whenever
Keep
you
eyesight.
want to come
Around
in,
us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are more than
Yeah.
welcome.
And I'm not talking like the fun stuff, like the crappy part of it. That's the stuff. Like I worked in chemical plants and oil field for the last couple of years. You're not scaring me here.
Call me for the fun stuff. I like fun.
I've seen all these things before, but they've always been covered in 3 to 4 inches of resin and glue and nasty, and been 1800 degrees. So this is like a pretty version of the horrors of my life.
Well, that's it. Distilling is 95% cleaning. That's what we do for
Don't tell my wife,
the
but I'll grab a
majority of the
scrub
day. Yeah.
Oh no!
You're not part of the wife. You two quit bonding over there. We got
Official
sister rods happening.
representation.
I love all the girl cigar smokers.
Oh yeah,
I do.
We all do.
you said that with so much passion.
Well, I was thinking real hard about, should I say, can we all agree that the best pair, and I'll leave it to your imagination. But the important thing is, guys, what's cool about this place and what's cool about these people is the family element to it. And our family element is everybody listening at home. The Cigar Junkies podcast is a community. When we started it, that was the primary idea that we had in mind. Your participation is mandated. If you're listening to this, give us a shout. Jump in on the Facebook group, leave a comment, like, subscribe, share, tell somebody about the show if you think what we're doing is cool. But mostly it's your feedback that we want, because the show is for the community by the community, which means that you communicating with us gives you the show that you want to see or hear. Speaking of which, you can see it on YouTube, or you can find it on any of your favorite podcast platforms. With that being said, I will one more time, just to appease my producer, Jason, like, subscribe, and share. Let's talk about the cigar news of the week, shall we? It's time for the cigar news, brought to you by Tom's Penworks. As a cigar smoker, you appreciate luxury. And as a premium cigar smoker, you appreciate handmade craftsmanship. And as a customer of Tom's Penworks, you'll appreciate the selection of custom-made, limited production items that you can show off to your friends. From handmade pens, pencils, bottle openers, cigar cases, and now custom rings, Tom will create something special for you or your loved one. Find him on the web at etsy.com/shop/Tom's Penworks. And as always, you can find the link in the description for this episode. Okay, so first on the list here, usually the show is not real serious, but we got a serious concern at the top of the news. And this is actually going to concern people like Sam that are embarking on a business, risking everything they have with a family at home. The Pennsylvania legislature has introduced HB 1657, a bill that would remove smoking exemptions provided in the state's 2008 Clean Indoor Air Act. Removing these exemptions would result in widespread indoor smoking ban in Pennsylvania, which obviously would be super bad for a lot of the family-owned companies that we all appreciate and love. So please, I believe Jason put, if he did what I asked him to, put a link in the description or in the comments for this episode where you can jump on to a link from the Cigar Rights of America and you can sign the petition or essentially reach out to our local representatives in the government to let them know that we do not appreciate them trying to step on our liberties.
That's not optional. Go,
no.
If you're listening, go there.
Do it.
Sign the petition. Because if not, then we don't exist. And if we don't exist, you don't exist.
Let's not get into physics here, but it's important. I did it as soon as I read it before I even put it in the notes on the sheet here for today's show. I made sure that I went and signed everybody. That's not just the list. Everybody in this audience, everybody here. If you're smoking a cigar, get on the Cigar Rights of America and let them know what you think. Send some information over to the government and let them know that they're not going to mess with our freedoms. Please, please do that. It's important. If you don't live in Pennsylvania, do it anyway, because I don't know if a lot of people understand this, but for the people that live in remote areas where you can't get a lot of cigars, Pennsylvania is the headquarters of the United States, not necessarily for imports, but for distribution of cigars. There's a reason that CI, Famous, all of these companies picked Pennsylvania as a place for their headquarters, and it is because of the fact that we actually have lower taxes, lower laws, and a lot of those things that are important and always in danger. If you're not a member of the Cigar Rights of America, there's always a link, and literally every episode that we do, we include a link at the bottom of the episode so that you can jump over there and sign up. So please do. All right, something a little bit less serious. Brick House Bricktoberfest 2023 has been distributed over to your local retailers. Like the 2022 release, the Bricktoberfest is a 6x52 Toro with a pigtail cap. This year's editions is highlighted by Havana Rosado wrapper grown in Ecuador over all Nicaraguan tobaccos. Cigars are presented in 10-count boxes and blended to be enjoyed with your favorite Oktoberfest. I can't speak today. I must have had a little more bourbon than I intended to before the show.
Really?
That
Oktoberfest.
Never happens. Huh? That's never.
Probably
You know what?
not
I
his fault.
am impressed. Normally he has Yingling involved when he does this.
There's usually a lot of things. One thing I like to do for this show is surround myself by beverage options. And the problem is I don't always pace myself the way I'd like to. The re-release of the third Tatuaje Monsters blend, The Face, is scheduled. Dubbed the Tatuaje The Face Redux number 3. Owner Pete Johnson said it should arrive in retail stores during the first 2 weeks of October. The Tatuaje The Face Redux, I'm going to pronounce it different every time. 3 is based. Redux? Okay, cool. I always think of Part 2. Charlie Sheen's greatest movie ever made, I think. So, my pronunciations might be a little off. It's based on the original release of the Tatuaje The Face, which first came out in 2010. The Face is based on the Leatherface character from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the cigar is a 6 3/8 by 56 Bellicoso, consisting of San Andreas Mexican wrapper over Nicaraguan tobacco for the binder and the filler. So look out for that. We all love the Monster series that come out every October, which leads me into my next suggestion. So I wanted to ask a question. What is the process, time length from start to finish whenever you guys start a new batch of bourbon or whiskey?
Roughly for us right now, about 3 years.
3 years.
3 years.
Okay, so this is 2023.
Yeah.
Here's my proposition. 2026 Liberty Pool Monster Mash, because I heard him say the word mash about 100 times in the earlier descriptions in the episode, and I'm like, yeah, we can do that. We like the Halloween. Yeah, dude. there's a lot of possibilities here. But I just want to go on record again. A couple bottles. That's all I ask.
All right.
Any of the ideas that I throw out during the show are yours to have. Just give me a little something for the trouble, you know.
Seriously, all he needs is a little pat on the back. Like it doesn't have to be when he says a little something. It's literally
Sometimes I
just
do it
You're an
myself.
idea guy. I like it.
Good
I like
point.
it.
So
90% of them are bad, but you only need a couple, you know.
so real quick, what the Monster Mash? What I missed that earlier.
There was no Monster Mash earlier.
Oh, just the
He
name.
kept
Okay.
using the term
I was
mash.
disgusting mash bills. So
Hey, I mean, maybe I don't want to side rail it by any means, but
That's what we do.
you don't know what show you're on right now. Go ahead.
So barrel aged cigars, or barrel aged fillers. I mean, what does that process look like? Is that something that could be done?
It's different for everybody.
It's okay. So barrel aged with the whiskey barrels or port barrels or something like that. It's a lot like what you were describing with like trying to use apple, cherry, mesquite. You get some flavor. That's a lot of commitment. A to the barrel, B to the person storing it, C to what's the tobacco doing in the barrel while you have it sealed. When they're doing these on the, when they're rotating tobacco, it's open air for a reason.
Yeah.
These things want to rot. So there's a lot that goes in for a little bit of flavor. So it's a huge commitment on how they do it. When it's done well, it tastes good.
Yeah.
But to me, that's one of those investments that's like, all right, it's cool.
It's maybe better left spent.
But
You drink the whiskey on the side.
let's maybe use the staves from the barrel. Let's fire cure the tobacco off those staves. That's more my style.
This is
cool.
This is the short bald guy's time to shine. So I happen to know a little bit about if the process is used right. Now, so what you're thinking of from a imparting flavor or changing the characteristic of a tobacco is what Sam is speaking to. And it's probably accurate. However, there are companies out there that are family owned that do things the correct way. And the one that sticks out in my head is actually Nick Perdomo. I don't know if you know this, but most of his cigars, if not all of them, are actually bourbon barrel aged in this for a reason for the benefit of the tobacco. So when they go through fermentation, it's very similar to what you guys are doing here. You're trying to expel ammonia and nitrates from the tobacco to remove bitterness and improve the taste and quality of the tobacco that you're smoking in a cigar. You can only get so much of it by building them up in pylons and fermenting on a pallet somewhere. Whenever you put them in an extra fermentation process inside of a bourbon barrel, it helps the tobacco to actually expel more that like remaining amount of bitter qualities in the tobacco to make a better quality tobacco product in the long run. So even if you're not imparting flavor, there's still a benefit to doing it just from the standard of let's make this tobacco as good as we can. It's a hand-in-hand relationship.
So the environment of the barrel helps accelerate some of those.
It's essentially the exhalation process of the tobacco to remove the negative qualities or chemistry left in the tobacco before it's a super high-end, well-aged, fermented product.
So you're not really looking for bourbon flavors.
Correct. It's not. Now, like I said, to Sam's point, if you're looking at saying, hey, let's impart some of the bourbon qualities on the tobacco, then Sam's methodology is the right methodology. But there is an instrumental part that those barrels can play in making the tobacco as good as it can be.
Fascinating. We had tried, so just from very novice cigar smokers, we had taken an empty barrel of whiskey, freshly dumped, and we had placed finished cigars in it, which I think going into it knew that it was not going to necessarily impart it, but we were curious for the experiment purpose and had never had much of the cigar flavor as we were smoking that we were maybe hoping for, but they did smoke well. But
one of those things you're gonna have to do if you want to try that. Sorry, did I just screw you up?
Jason, that was awesome. Jason has no mic.
Okay, so were you trying to impart the flavor of the cigar into the whiskey, or the whiskey into the cigar?
The whiskey into the cigar.
That's how I had interpreted it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah,
what
well.
Corey had
And
said,
it was
like,
minor. It makes sense from what
Yeah.
you're saying. It didn't.
It didn't
From
work.
from the
doesn't.
experimental side, we when we smoked the cigars, we did not taste much of the whiskey flavor.
Yeah, and it's wild how it all works, right? Because things you think would absorb won't. Things that you think will absorb, like, or
The
won't
backward.
absorb, will, like.
Will and will
the way
won't.
the back and forth goes on that's crazy. I mean, you guys, I'm sure dealing with barrels, you guys know intimately. Like, port barrels are great because the port gets stuck in the barrel, but the whiskey pulls it back out. Like, cool. But going the other way around, it's not going to help a port. You're just going to get fire out of a bourbon barrel when you go to a port, and, to use, I heard you go, ooh, when I said that about the whiskey staves for smoking it, like, you could smoke completed cigars, over the staves and get the smoke and import the cold smoke into it and all that. You're going to get the oils from that. That's going to linger. That's going to stay. It's going to hang. And actually, now that we're talking about it, it sounds really delicious to me. Like, I feel like I'm going to get you guys a bundle of some.
I smell a
Connecticut's.
collaboration.
Let's try it.
Let's get something going on this one. But yeah, stuff like that. But you guys ever want to play with like raw tobacco and stuff like that? I can, there's a couple places I can get it from. So if you guys ever want to play with it, we can do that. Which brings me to, I let you try that Aladino whiskey while she was at the shop, and it was
It was illegal, so it was good.
yeah. It was curious to hear your thoughts on it, because you said like he made great cuts. Like I've heard a lot of people, for the most part, talk fairly negatively about that whiskey because it is young and it you can taste that it's young. But your objective opinion on it was amazing, because you were like, yeah, it's young. Okay. And you moved past the negative part of it. And what were you saying about the cuts, and what did you mean by that?
So if you're going to age whiskey for a short amount of time, and I think Kevin and Jim can back me up on this, you want to get a clean ethanol in that barrel. Because what happens is the science of the barrel is that it takes time for those molecules of ethanol to convert to an ester that you can taste. And
Can I hold you up for a second?
yeah.
What is an ester? I'm just going to ask it because I know that
What
you were thinking it
We're
too.
too dumb
Describe
to
it
understand
better.
what you're talking about.
So an ester is a fruity flavor, an aromatic flavor.
That you
That was
see
my
in the
friend's
whiskey.
grandma.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Think green apple. Think things that are very bright in flavor.
Like Glenfiddich, like they have just
Yeah.
a ton of apple.
Ton of
in
bright.
it.
So an ester is formed from an acid, which is generated in a fermentation, and then that combines with an alcohol. So an alcohol plus an acid forms an ester. So our philosophy is generally ferment clean. You want to avoid bad bacteria, but you want to derive as much of those fermentation acids as possible, and then distill dirty. So try to get as many of those through the barrel as you can,
Dirty.
as you can.
Idea guy.
Because then what you have
day,
is
every day.
you have this heavy concentration of acids, fermentation acids that are tasty, and then over
But they
time
take a while in
they
barrels.
take time. So if
Can I
you
get that again? It was what's the clean part?
it is ferment clean, distill dirty.
I'm wound up.
I have things that I'm not saying out of respect, but I don't know who the respect is for. Even like I'm not saying it. Just know the comments there.
Right.
I know my new bumper
You know,
sticker.
for me, that's the long-lasting flavors that I enjoy. So when I'm tasting a young whiskey, if I get an off note, it's because they didn't distill dirt. Am I saying this right?
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't distill dirty.
It's one of 1,000 variables. But
Yeah,
when it comes
that's
down,
a good point.
when it comes down to it, depending on how long you plan to age it, makes an impact as to what you want to pull through on your still.
Yeah. So when I'm tasting a young whiskey, if I get any flavors that needed more time in the barrel, they should have distilled that out. They shouldn't have put that into the barrel. So that's what I was explaining, that I thought for a young whiskey, it complemented the cigar that Sam had chosen with it. So there's nothing bad about a young whiskey because we've had young whiskeys for a long time.
You have to know one, right?
You just
Because you
have
don't
to
know what
make
that
it, you have
mature
to
whiskey is going to be like.
distill
if
to
you
what
can't-
you're going to age, as Kevin said. You're going to have to distill to what you expect it to taste like in the end. You just pair the right cigar. I think we had a lot of people that liked our green, they call it green whiskey. We had a lot of people that liked that. And now that we're getting older, they're like, oh, I miss your old whiskeys. But now there's a lot of people that say, I like your older whiskeys better because you've clearly distilled a little bit differently. And we still have a long way to go.
I think you guys
We're
are
not
doing
old
everything
yet, but,
correctly.
We're psyched.
Right?
we're psyched with what we've decided to do.
You're looking at it from the perspectives of like it's a perfect blend. We've talked about art and we've talked about science, and I think that when you're talking about tobacco or a beverage, a whiskey, any type of alcohol,
Same thing. Yeah.
It's the right marriage of those two concepts that makes something phenomenal.
Totally.
Right.
What I love about it, it's as in depth as you can get into the science behind it. In the end of the day, it's subjective. And what my favorite whiskey is might be your least favorite whiskey. What my favorite cigar is maybe your least favorite. And
I
it's
wanted
such
to
a
ask
beautiful
that.
balance.
So prior to doing this, what was your go-to, and your go-to drinks? Before you guys had this, what was your go-to?
Me first.
Kevin?
Geez. Maker's Mark, probably.
Okay.
At the same time, we started this, I was 23, 24.
Okay, so
More like 19.
Relative, I mean, yeah, right,
Miller Lite.
right.
So do you tend towards your weeded bourbon?
Anymore, it's more on the rye category.
Okay.
Knob Creek, New Riff. There's some really good ryes out there.
Dude, new riff.
Besides Liberty Pole. But yeah, totally. New, a lot of the new school guys. There's a really cool trend of new school whiskeys that I think we tend to gravitate towards.
There's a great revolution going on.
There is.
That's awesome.
It's exciting. It's really fun. The old guys. I mean, the legacy distillers make great whiskey, and we also enjoy that too.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to be a whiskey drinker, for sure. Right now.
Yeah.
But it's kind of my 2 cents, I guess.
All right, Jim.
So my kind of initiation into whiskey was Irish whiskey. I'm still an Irish whiskey fan. I think as we've gotten into our distillery, I've gravitated more towards, American whiskeys, a little heavier, a little more viscous. Like Kevin, I'm a big rye fan. I really enjoy our rye. I love Peerless Rye, New Riff. There's some really good ryes out there, but if I had to pick one whiskey style, I would be on the rye train also.
Awesome. I'm going to skip you for a second.
Yeah.
We all know what she's going to say.
What's your go-to?
So I get around a little bit, but my absolute favorite is probably the Lagavulin 16. So I do have a tendency towards Scotch a little bit more than bourbon. A little bit of like, I do a little bit of everything, honestly.
You like licking the back of that fireplace.
Oh, it's
which is why I
delicious.
jumped to him before I went to you. See what I did there?
Yeah. You want to talk about the fireplace? You're eating the ashes.
Oh yeah.
Because you're an Ardbeg guy.
I'm an Ardbeg guy. I'm a Octomore or I'm a Gerd. Brun, I can never say it. Oh, so many.
Bruichladdich.
Thank you.
Bruichladdich.
Bruichladdich. Thank you. I always get it wrong, so I just always mess it up on purpose.
Brr.
Brr. But you knew what I meant.
I knew it.
That's the thing.
Ooh, your winter one can be BRRRRRRBON bourbon.
And Alan, what was yours before you guys started this, and what is yours?
Yeah.
now?
this is
Scotch.
Scotch.
Yeah.
But this was because I think that whiskey's a type of thing you drink sometimes when you're going through troubles. And when my father got real ill and the boys were little, Jim used to give me a scotch, whatever scotch he had in the house, because I never drank whiskey before this. And a lot of times it was it started out with some scotches, but I grew up in a farming community, and I grew to love Lafroig
Hell
and
yeah.
Ardbeg. But now I'll take anything. I've had the opportunity to taste a Port Ellen from Isla, and it's delightful. So, and they're not open anymore. So that was a very rare Scotch. So I'm the one behind the peated bourbon, and but in the end, every night when I go home, I will drink our peated bourbon. It is just, I think we've mastered something beautiful, and I enjoy it. So I'm a Scotch drinker, but I like our peated.
It's so cool. Like that was the
Yeah.
one thing I was looking forward to more than anything else. Being a peated guy, was coming in here and like, hey, let's see what peat looks like on a bourbon. And the answer is phenomenal. It's really good.
It's a baby
and
Scotch.
to the success, I think, of what you've done here. So we went into the shop to buy a couple of bottles, and your very knowledgeable salesman in there essentially laid out, okay, here's this, and here's this. And as much as I like to try to avoid talking about my wife on this show because of the minefield that usually ensues, she told him, like, I like wine. And I typically drink dry wine, which is probably more conducive to crossing over than somebody like sweet wine, right? But everything he gave her was like, oh, this is good. Oh, this is good. Oh, this is good.
Well, I think if
and
you're
it
a
was like-
sophisticated wine drinker, you understand terroir. And whiskey is the only spirit that gives you that terroir. And that is the key. I've seen more women who drink wine switch to drinking whiskey when they understand the terroir.
I just, his reaction was, I thought you were a wine drinker, but it looks like maybe you're a whiskey drinker.
Yep, it's a natural
and I imagine
progression. Yep.
that conversion might happen more often in this distillery than maybe some other places. You have a lot of really good options laid out, and I was expecting my wife to get to one or two of these options and go, ugh. But that was never a reaction that she had, even though maybe I was expecting it, you know?
So I have a question that's, when we're drinking whiskey, they say that it often affects frontal lobe, that you always, when you drink whiskey, it's a memory. I find that smoking cigars also triggers frontal lobe memories. Do you find that the same? People pick their cigars based on memories of what they've known or what they've enjoyed?
I think so to some extent, right? Like it's very similar to smell, right? Like the sense of smell has the strongest attachment for us as human beings.
People don't
to
realize that. Yeah.
memories,
Yep.
right? You smell something like the hot pavement being hit by the rainstorm in the summer, and you're like, oh my God, I'm back here at this place. That campfire at Cedar Chest takes me back to being at the cabin with my family when I was a kid. But there's definitely elements of that in your taste profile.
So that's
as
my
well.
theory between whiskey and cigars.
I have a lot of people ask me at the shop because, I mean, you came in, you didn't really get the normal intro to the shop, but I'm always in the humidor with the customer. And it's just for, look, I know these cigars pretty well. What do you eat and drink and doing? What do you normally like? I know what's close and all that stuff. And I try and give that hands-on experience. And one of the things I get asked a lot is, what do you mean you taste cocoa? What do you mean that you taste the campfire, all that stuff?
His best friend growing up was Coco, by the way.
I don't
like
taste
you, Sam.
I don't
taste.
taste any of the stuff though. That's the thing is I taste very little of the notes that we talk about. I smell it. You know, everything for me is nasal. It's all on the smell. You know, with the cigars, it's the retrohale. That's the most important part of a cigar to me. And it's exactly what you guys were talking about. It's that memory. Because when I'm trying to just sit down and be like, all right, what do I get? The first thing I do is I sit down, I take a couple of hits of it, let it wash my palate. Then I close my mind off to try and like not be thinking, all right, what do I taste? What do I smell? And just give it a second. And then I retrohale. And whatever thoughts come to mind, I'm right. Like no matter what, you're correct.
I think we could get some research dollars behind this because I think you're right, Sam. I think you're right.
It's all just what do you get? That's my favorite thing about cigars. No matter what you think you taste, 7-year-old eel fish liver out of it, you're right. Why? Because that's what your brain went to. That's what your brain went to. You tasted that.
100%.
It's that, it's triggering that memory. And I feel like a lot, one of the things I got when I started trying to taste more was a lot of the feedback I got was, all right, go out and start trying things. So go try more foods, go try stuff you don't like, try things that you wouldn't normally enjoy, and smell them, taste them, all that stuff, and build those association points in your mind so that you can pull those notes out.
Makes a richer life.
Like I keep seeing the cup sitting there with the grain that you guys have sitting there. And it immediately, when I first saw that, I thought of, there's an Indian restaurant I went to, and they had fennel seeds in a little bowl with a little spoon for you to just palate cleanse with. And I love that taste. My wife hates that taste. And I remember the whole conversation, all of it, based on an image. And to me, that image is vivid and all that. But when it's something that I smell, that image is, I relive it. Like I get to go do it again. I get that cocoa powder again. I get to redo all that again. So what you were talking about with, where is it frontal lobe wise? I think it's 100% sinus and nasal and olfactory, or whichever fancy term you want to use for it.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And if you're not retrohaling your cigars, you're not tasting them, right? Like so much of our taste is in our sinuses and our nasals, and it's often overlooked part of the process. I do want to acknowledge Ryan Seneca has been very active in the chat room. He says that he's not into ryes, but definitely wants to give the Liberty Pool a shot after hearing us talking about it. And I would absolutely say that's the one for you to try, because what I really like about, so we talked about what our go-tos were, right? And I mentioned Lagavulin 16. There's a difference between a traditional like Ardbeg or Lafroig peated Scotch that's very, like we talked about earlier in the episode, very in your face, right? And I think the thing that draws me to Lafroig is you have the characteristic of the peated smoke taste, but you also get a little bit more of that full flavor that you get with other bourbons scotches like a Macallan, right? You taste the peat, but you also taste the whiskey as well. And the rye that you guys make is subdued to a place where you get a whole mouthfeel, a whole complement of flavors. It is not just this one thing that is beating your head in. So if you're not traditionally a rye drinker, I would very much urge you to try Liberty Pole's rye, because it is that nice little blend of here's the rye, but here's everything else. See how they work together to create a symphony of flavor instead of just a one note experience.
So can I
go for it.
Yes, yes, you can. You don't have to finish that sentence.
So yeah, awesome. I'm glad you say that. I think there's two things. So post prohibition, there's a big distillery in Indiana that makes a lot of rye, and they do it really well. But their mash bill is 95% rye, 5% malted barley. It's very rye forward rye, and they produce that for a lot of distilleries that brand it as a different entity or a different brand, and it's a great whiskey. We love it. Problem is, if you're a bourbon drinker, you're a Scotch drinker, it can be very rye forward. You can taste that spicy herbalness of it. Pepper, and you drink it and you go, okay, I don't necessarily like this flavor, and I'm going to write off rye as a category. But much like every single thing we've talked about today, there is a wide range of flavors that's really cool. So traditional Pennsylvania rye was not that high in rye content. And in our rye, it's 74% rye. There's a little bit of wheat, 13% malted barley. And so whenever... What's that?
He said, "You giving away secret."
No. And so you combine a little bit less rye content in our rye mash bill, that with the fact that it's pot distilled versus column distilled, and those sort of natural agricultural grain forwardness. sweet notes, I think balance out a lot of that rye spice. And it's something that I think we're really proud of as our rye whiskey. It's kind of, a very approachable rye in a way that I think if anybody out there listening is written off rye, would love to have them try it, because I think it's very much a different style of rye whiskey. That's one that's worth trying. It's a really cool style.
As the self-declared marketing ambassador for Liberty Pool Spirits,
That's right.
What I
we'll
would
get you on the
say-
payroll.
don't do yourself. Oh yeah, for sure. Don't do yourself a disservice. Try them all, because you're gonna find something to like in all of them.
Dude, that is a great. I wrote a note here, so I didn't forget to say it.
Take note, because this doesn't happen very
I-
often. He's about to tell me I'm right.
I don't like corn whiskeys usually.
Well, you've been drinking it all day.
I know. That's why I'm saying.
The corn was
So-
popular today.
Corn was popular.
Well,
Wow.
I don't like corn whiskey. I mean, almost ever. I've had, a vast array of people, and I'm always willing to try new, right? So exactly what we're talking about. I always try the new version of something that I don't particularly care for. I've had people
He
bring
does.
me,
I can vouch for that.
yeah, I've had a lot of people bring me, aged Dickles and stuff like that.
Age
and,
who?
Dickles. Dickles. It's whiskey.
Whiskey.
And I mean, these are
Good thing
notable
BGD
corn
left.
whiskeys that people get excited about, like some of the Dickles that I've had, and I'm not a fan at all. I've been drinking that all day. Like that. It's
Thanks, Sam.
it's a testament to A, you guys putting the quality and the time in. B, try new stuff. One of the things we had talked about briefly, we were there Monday. I got the liquor store right next to my shop is going to be carrying all of what you guys have now. So we got that on the docket. I told them, I'm like, look, just bring it in. He's like, well, and I was like, bring it in. I will sell it for you. Like, just bring it in. And he's okay. But I didn't even mention the corn to him because it wasn't a consideration for me. And yet
We'll just keep
discussed.
bringing it over to you.
Cool.
Yeah.
But I have to interrupt. You were talking about full flavors. I've been finishing this Fat Bottom Betty with this
They
rye.
make the rock and roll go round.
It's everything you said, Sam. Sweet and spicy. Wow.
You have
All
a
your
drastic
cigars.
contrast pairing.
Drastic, but it's delicious with the rye.
And
You're
I
a
think
genius.
if I had to sum up what I think Liberty Pole does well, it is there's a difference between an ingredients and a recipe, right? Like there are some people out there like Oreos got the flavor of the month, right? Like, oh, it tastes like this month. It tastes like this month. The secret is, I think, when the magic happens, there's something in there or multiple things in there. You don't have to be able to recognize what they are, just that they're working well together. And it's not necessarily about whether it's corn or whether it's rye or whether it's wheat. It's about how all of those things interact together to create something new. And I think that's really what you guys do well, is because it's not like, oh, this stands out as this to me or this stands out as that. It's man, this really works well together.
Sam was talking about our corn whiskey. And the one thing we really haven't talked about is the grain, the type of corn that we use. We use a varietal called Bloody Butcher. It is.
Yeah, that sounds metal as hell.
Oh, it's fantastic, right? But it's a type of corn that it's non-GMO. It was introduced into America in the 1800s. It's very flavorful. It is very oily, and it is very low yielding for the farmer and for the distiller. And for that reason, it kind of went out of favor.
Because it costs more.
Because it costs more. I mean, we have to use, a lot more corn per mash bill than we would if we were using number 2 dent corn, which is what, 90% of the Kentucky bourbons are made with. But, we think it's worth it. We think the flavor profile that it gives to our whiskeys, our bourbon, our corn whiskey, our Peat bourbon, is worth it. It's just a fantastic grain. And, that's the kind of thing that we do. We're looking to be unique. the big heritage distillers could never use that because the farmers couldn't grow enough of it to meet their demand, and they wouldn't get enough yield alcohol wise out of their mashes. But we're small enough that we can play with grains like that.
And that's, I think, another thing that separates tobacco. So like the parallels, man.
Right.
Like the reason that you're going to get a better cigar from a smaller company is there's a difference between going into a McDonald's and having this thing taste the same every time you have it. And it's okay, maybe. You can, do it in a pinch. It tastes the same everywhere you go in the world. But a smaller company has the ability to work with a smaller batch of crops or products that can really make something good.
You're thinking about Lee right now, aren't you?
I'm thinking about all kinds of stuff.
I was like, I could see it in your eyes.
A lot of
No,
parallels.
I will say one thing that's really cool. So I tell a lot of people, like, I pay attention to which blender made cigars from some of the big boxes and stuff like that. And, hey, this blender made this blender made that. And I sell cigars based on the commonality. You like something that Ricky Rodriguez made, try this, try that, try these different things, that Ricky's made. Your whiskeys don't have a common note, which is cool. Like normally when you get something from one place, there's a common note that's a thread throughout that you either like or don't like. You guys don't have that.
So it's so funny you say that. So this barrel that we did today, barrel named Daryl. So it was a little bit more contentious than we've had in the past. Rob, his taste profile, what he enjoys, was maybe more negative towards it. Didn't necessarily want to pull this one, but a few other folks,
Us,
to be named nameless, were pretty high on it, and we really liked it. And then we put it to the team, the whole Liberty Pool team. We got a lot of great whiskey tasters on our crew here.
If you ever need one, let me know.
Exactly.
I
I think you
volunteer
guys
my
are
time.
here.
Me.
Yeah. Totally.
And especially with the single barrel program, I think that's such a cool thing is you have a little bit of flexibility where if there's a barrel that's a really high quality whiskey, but it's not to necessarily a particular spec, you have the flexibility that this is going to be a great whiskey. And a lot of people, to get to a single barrel of Liberty Pole whiskey, it's got to go through a lot of checks. And so it's not necessarily one particular profile, one particular taster. And I think that's a cool thing.
It shows, and that's exactly what
It's
I
a neat
was.
thing.
I
Kevin-
didn't know any of that, but you can taste it in what you guys offer, and even in
I'm
your core
kind of
lines.
thinking that we pull a couple samples of the ones we really like, put them in a little sample bottle, and I go over to just the tip, me and Jim, and we go over to
Invite
just the
cigar
tip,
junkies.
and you guys try it too and see what you think. Who's ever there?
Sounds like a
Yeah.
party.
We'll give
Can
it
you-
a try.
Can you
Some of
invite
them.
me too? Can I come
Oh,
too?
for God's
You
sake.
just said mom and dad.
There's a little exclusive there. I don't know.
Oh, show
Can I
up
come,
and-
guys? Is that all right?
And you tell us what you think.
So before
Yeah.
No, I love
it.
He's the intern. And speaking of the intern, before I jump into the events of the week, the intern's wife has a question in the chat room. She'd like to know, for someone who is new to bourbon or necessarily that is not their go-to, do you have a specific line that you guys would recommend as being like, this is your transitionary? Like in cigars, we have sweet tips like the Fat Bottom Betty, or we have acid, which is flavored, which maybe takes a little bit of the edge off. If there's someone that's new coming in to the idea of drinking whiskey or bourbon, what's the bottle you're going to
Keep in mind, you're going to sell me this bottle when you're done recommending.
No, you
No.
keep in mind, you're not going to have to answer for why you bought this. Damn it, woman, you told me to get you something.
Yeah, that's what I told her.
So that is a good question. I think Mom would agree. I think maybe more so than a bottle, I would say start with a cocktail. Start with a whiskey cocktail. An old fashioned.
Depending on what your other tastes are.
I still think I say a cocktail. And then go from there. I feel like, so one of the harder things about whiskey is it's a high proof spirit. You're drinking something, especially Liberty Pole, you're 92 proof. And there's a chemical pain receptor, your taste buds, if it's high proof, and maybe more so high proof than your palate is acclimated to, that sends something to your brain that says this burns. And I think what we've seen a lot through Liberty Pole is that can be a turnoff. But what is cool is that when you drink a cocktail, you balance that flavor of the whiskey, because that's really what's beautiful about the whiskey is those grain flavors, those barrel flavors. You put that into a cocktail, and Mom is, I think, the best in Pittsburgh. She's the best in really maybe anywhere in the U.S. she is an insane savant. Like, she's crazy, half crazy, half the best.
Probably mostly your fault, buddy.
Yep. Oh yeah. Totally. But the best there is, and I think that element of trying it in a cocktail, and then all of a sudden you start to taste those beautiful notes of the whiskey. So
the reason I say that is because my wife is a good example. So, like, one of the things that Sam and I have is a real big commonality in terms of introducing people to cigars is questions that have nothing to do with cigars. Do you like your coffee black? Do you put in a lot of cream or a lot of sugar? Do you like craft beer? Do you like Coors Light? Do you like spicy food? Or do you like maybe something a little bit more tame? Can kind of lead you into an idea, because the one thing, most people are going to tend towards something milder for their first experience. But if somebody likes black coffee, if they like spicy food, if they like craft beers, I don't want to give them a light cigar, because they're probably going to be bored by it and turned off and maybe not come back again. So that's something that's always important to ask yourself is whether or not you're somebody that demands something punched in the face, or you want something a little bit mellower. But I think if you are somebody that's maybe a little apprehensive, maybe you drink, sweet drinks typically, then that is absolutely going to be a great avenue for you, is to come in. And the nice thing is they have a bottled pre-made. I'm in
So
on
if
the
you
plug.
like it,
I'm
you
with
can take it home.
That's right. So you don't have to come here and have the bartender make it for you. You have an old-fashioned bottled and ready to go, which is really cool.
By the way, I want to clarify that we got another comment that says, he's bringing it home today, so don't worry about it, from Jason. So
I think if I was you, Jason, I would just play it safe and bring one of all of them, and then you don't have to work. You're going to find something she likes in there. You know what I mean? That's a smart consumer choice.
I'm for it.
Yeah.
So to what you were saying about the different, you got that strength, but there's that other stuff going along with it. That cigar I just gave you is very strong.
Yeah, totally.
It is.
That's the one, buddy.
Yeah, it's strong. It's got some.
I am disappointed. It's so short. I had it on Monday night.
You sound like my wife. I keep telling her it's been 17 years. You know what you're getting yourself into.
Self-deprecating humor is always the best. So it does come in other formats and sizes. But
I keep telling her to avoid those.
Corey doesn't.
Sorry, Sam.
I just wanted to last. Oh my God. Kevin, earmuffs. Kevin, earmuffs.
If it was just a little bigger and lasted a little longer, and if it tasted better too.
Oh, here she comes.
I like
Here she comes.
long
Everybody pretend I didn't say anything.
So the reason that I gave you the Neanderthal is exactly what we were talking about. So that higher proof, that higher strength, where a lot of tobacconists are going to tend towards handing you a real light and fluffy cigar, and like you said, it's about finding out more than just that. But guys default to, here, you're new. Here's my Connecticut's. Yep. Here's my shade wrappers. Here's an Ecuadorian Connecticut. Here's a Camacho. Great cigar, great flavor. But like, here it is. It's basic. Trying something beyond that is always going to be an experience. And worst case scenario, you're going to hate it.
But it tells you where to go to the next experience.
Yes.
Totally.
So I make a lot of flavor, a lot of sample packs for exactly that reason, for people with like a diverse setup in it. And I do the cigar mystery. So every month I put a different cigar on the shelf that is marked down, way marked down. So that's your motivation to go ahead and pick it up.
Yep.
It's wrapped in newspaper. I took the band off. I took the cellophane off. You have no way of knowing what it is. I'm never going to tell you what it was that you smoked. The purpose of that cigar is not for you to find your new favorite. It's to find something different than you normally would have. 1 month, I'm going to get that rock and roll, just full body cigar like that. The next month, it's going to be a real light and fluffy Connecticut. The only thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to put a flavored in there.
So when you like one, go every other month.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's oh, go ahead.
There hasn't been a time I bought most of the packs that Sam puts together because we do the podcast at the shop every week, and most every week I'm like I look through his little
Careful, Jen.
yeah, the packs that he puts together, and I'm like, oh, yep, that looks good. And I have not come across one that I've been like, oh, this thing's a piece of shit, and threw it in the garbage. It's the cigar of the month that he puts together. It's well curated. The packs he puts together are well curated. It's great stuff, and it's a testament to Sam and his commitment to cigars as a whole.
Well, I was just going to say that if you're new to whiskey or you're new to cigars, you need to don't just go to the state store and pick something, or don't just go buy tobacco.
Yeah, come
go
to Liberty
somebody,
Pole and pick something.
Right. Talk to our bartenders. They will match your taste. Talk to Sam. He will match your taste. I think that's the place to start.
So,
Or the spirit shop.
I believe
Not Mark.
Spirit
Not
shop.
Mark.
Sorry, Mark. Spirit shop.
I believe the one, Amy, is that the one bartender that took care of me?
Oh, she's so much fun.
I walked over and she goes, "You're getting a rye old fashioned." And I was like, "Well, I want it." She's like, "You're getting a rye old fashioned." just like that. And I was like, "Cool." It was delicious.
Yeah,
Because I was like, "I want a cocktail this time." She's like, "Oh, yeah. She's like, "You're getting," and I didn't have a chance. She was making it before we finished talking. I was like, "Okay." She gets done. She's like, "You'll like this."
And I think
made me
that's where
so
you start.
happy.
You start with people who are knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And then you're better off determining your own taste.
Oh, absolutely. And remember, in cigar smoking, like drinking, there's no monogamy. You know,
Right.
Try some different stuff, swing around. You
Always.
never know when you're going to find your next favorite. You don't. You know?
Always.
My wife didn't think that she was going to like the bourbon cream. Oh, this is going to be sweet. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, that's a very pleasant surprise. And that's just it. You know, don't be afraid to jump in and try something. You never know where your next favorite's coming from if you don't give a little bit of everything.
So go ahead, Jim. You look like you were going to say something.
Oh, no.
One of the things that I just realized I did to you guys that I hate, no, I don't hate, but it amuses me that people do is, what's your favorite? Well, hold on. What time of day is it?
Right.
That's right.
Did I have
That's
coffee?
exactly right.
Am I eating chimichangas? Like what am I doing with this cigar for me to pick that one? You know, and my favorite is dependent on what I'm doing at the time. So that always gets me. Go ahead, man. Sorry, we got a comment that's just definitely worth just breaking in for because it's fantastic.
Oh, Seneca.
No, Ryan Seneca said, Jason's words, "It's a piece of shit and I'm going to throw it in the trash." Jason's actions, "A cigar in the shitter? I'm going to put this in my mouth."
It's happened.
So for
This
you
is
guys not aware,
theoretical.
Jason has taken a random stranger's cigar off the back of a toilet in a lounge and smoked it.
They paid me.
You didn't know we were going to pay you when you went and got it. You
was
were
like,
already on it.
Hey man, there's a cigar in the shitter. I'll give you. He was gone before I could put a dollar amount on it.
I don't know. I'm thinking
He's like, oh, $5 too? Hell yeah.
I'm liking this Ryan Seneca guy.
Yeah,
I've never met him, but
guys,
You
I
will,
cannot wait.
you will, I'm sure.
Especially, he has a fantastic palate for whiskey too. He has never given me a whiskey that wasn't a banger.
Also, he's not
Yeah,
married and has no children, so
Yeah.
he's got disposable income. Keep that in mind when he comes in.
Yeah, if
yeah,
you guys-
Kevin. Yeah, Kevin. I would have had a better palate.
Yeah. Shots fired. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the events of the week real quick here. Wow. That was a banger right there. It was. Thursday, September 28th, Superior Smoke Shop, the Sam Show Fall Blowout and Munhall deal details. Buy 5, get 1, buy 10, get 2. Buy 20, get 5, and 25 gets you 7. Anything over 30, and you get 3 free for every 10 purchased. But they get the decided cigar, so tread carefully. Saturday, October 28th at Nelson McGuasto's in Greensburg, the Spooky Sumatra Halloween Party. Trey Mack. Yes, that's right. The guy that likes to hold hands in the bathroom stalls of Aladino Cigars will be on site as well to release the hauntingly delicious Aladino Sumatra, the fall limited edition. And they will welcome plenty of delicious spirits as well. Hopefully, if they're smart, they'll select some Liberty Pole options for that event, I would say. The deals will be absolutely spooktacular. That's good wordplay. All attendees are encouraged to wear their favorite Halloween outfit. And then once you wrap up there, you can head on over to the Leaning House. Also on Saturday, October 28th, the highlight of the evening, the second appearance of the Strum Junkies. That's right, we're returning to Leaning House. And this time, the Prodigal Sons return with local cigar box legend Louis Lamana will be playing drums for us. We'll be keeping the beat on the drums, costume contest, Halloween drink specials, food and cigar specials. What else can you ask for? It's going to be a fantastic time. Saturday, October 28th. Yes, unfortunately, you might be in a position where you have to move a wedding so that you can attend. I highly recommend you do that. It's going to be an awesome time. I bought a smoke machine. Fog machine.
Nice. Hey,
There's a difference, right? Because a fog machine and a smoke machine, they say any machine can be a smoke machine if you use it wrong enough.
Yeah, you'll have that. So I have 3 events to add to the list. So first and most importantly, so the spiced whiskey release for Liberty Pole is going to be mid to end of October. So wait for a date on that, guys. You guys want to talk more about that real quick? What is the spiced whiskey?
Spiced whiskey is the holidays in a glass.
Ooh, I like that.
We've been doing this how many years, Kev? It's like our 4th
3 or
year.
4, yeah.
So it's our rye whiskey, a straight rye whiskey that we dump the barrels and we add just a beautiful amount of allspice, cinnamon, and orange peel with a little brown sugar syrup, and it's probably our most anticipated release of the year.
Only comes out at Christmas.
Comes out at Christmas. We try to make enough to last from Halloween to Christmas. So
Have you succeeded yet?
Yeah, last year we timed it perfectly. I think we sold our last bottle on Christmas Eve.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So-
I'm going to try and make sure that happens.
it's
I'm gonna
fantastic.
push that
It's
far.
fantastic.
Let's call it the Grinch. You know?
Yeah.
Everybody roots for the bad guy.
So 2 other events, more details to come. October 27th is going to be the Just the Tip Halloween party. It's going to be TV show Dress as Your Favorite TV Character themed. We're going to be doing Yeah, you would be perfect for it. No, unfortunately, you have to go with Kid Rock and you have to be JOC. So sorry about that.
What TV show is that from?
I don't know, but you committed to it already. You got him so excited.
I would dress as Mr. Howell from Gilligan's Island.
Really? Because you strike me more as I'm Mr. Meeseeks.
Yep.
Thurston
a lot of
Howell
blue body
III.
paint.
Really good Mr. Howell.
But yeah, so any TV show character, we're going to be doing prizes
I
for
wish
best
it was
costume,
Meeseeks.
best couples costume, and best group costume.
It's the Kurt Lenz off-brand Mr. Meeseeks.
Oh, yeah. The off-brand. And then October 29th, we're going to be doing hopefully more than what I'm about to say, but October 29th is going to be football with Trey Mack. So
It's a hell of a weekend.
yeah, come back to the shop, hang out, watch football. We'll do some deals on Aladino, but really it's just more for come hang out with the rep and just poke his brain, smoke some Aladinos and try something real. Because I've learned more now that I have the shop that it's such a unique flavor profile.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many cool things about Aladino's tobacco that's just awesome. So we'll be doing that on the 29th. Look, I'm still not a fan of the flavor, but I appreciate what
I was like, what?
I don't have to like it. Like,
be like
it,
it, especially.
it is unique.
Can I just want to bird walk here for a second
Dude,
and point out how cool Ellen looks over there. Ellen, she's got the. It's like if Cruella de Vil had a tactical stock instead of the long cigarette. You know what I mean?
Such a
The long-
diva.
It's tactical.
I said to Sam, the worst part of the worst part of a cigar is the very last like half inch. I don't want to. Usually, you're smoking with friends, and the moment is so magical, and you realize that there's no cigar left, and they're like, "You gotta have a stabber." So I have a stabber now.
Why are you such a good speaker?
No, I just like cigars and whiskey.
You have blown me away during this entire podcast. Like, you are so eloquently spoken.
Please say more in front of my son.
Why don't you come hang out with us for a day?
You'll ask him to leave real fast.
This has been an absolute pleasure listening to you and Jim talk about, you know,
What about Kevin?
Suck it, Kevin.
I'm used to it. I'm used to it. Mom is the key to our success, and I am okay with that.
Did you ever go on vacation and forget him at home?
Yeah, go ahead.
As an employee, I can say, if you want to feel good about yourself, ask Ellen how you're doing.
She is the best.
And if you want to really know how you're doing, ask Rob.
Well said.
I haven't met him yet, but I'm pretty sure that y'all wanted him to not be here today. No.
It's the perfect balance. That's what.
Perfect balance. That's right.
They've only got like 15 listeners. You don't want to come.
So
I heard the producer
Kevin, Jim,
smoke
you guys
cigars
fit
in the bathroom. Yeah. Oh,
I do have one more question for the group. So because it is, kind of a cigar thing for us, what is your go-to cigar, Jim? Because I know you're not big about cigars. So
I'm a Rocky Patel, Connecticut guy.
Okay, nice white label, chilled.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. So you enjoy, like, based on that, I'm gonna guess you enjoy the social aspect way more than you enjoy the cigar.
Totally.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Alan?
Candela wrappers, and you're the guy who makes them for me, gets them for me. I love that. I love that grassy note.
Awesome.
I'll go something maybe just a little bit above Connecticut, maybe like a Habano wrapper style. And I don't think I have a go-to brand, but I trust after today, I trust Sam. And
How do you feel about that Neanderthal? Because that is, you see what I mean about being
I do
full.
like this. It's
I
nutty.
told you.
It's yeah.
Yeah, it's really
So
good.
I think I may be converted, or at least I'm swaying more towards.
Yeah, we got you. No,
Yeah.
no, you went from here
Yeah.
to broadleaf, bro.
Yeah.
But you're pulling the sweet notes out of it, where most people they're going to focus too much on the pepper. So
Yeah.
that's really cool to me to get to see that that's the case.
Yeah,
Okay,
good.
so she likes to say grassy. If Just the Tip ever does a Candela cigar for their house blend,
All right.
can we call it Ellen on the Grassy Knolls?
Oh, what if we just did a house?
I'll
what
have
if
a
I
taste,
blended a house
7.
blend for Liberty Pool instead and just let them name it whatever they wanted?
It'd have to be a barber.
Cigar named Daryl.
A cigar named Daryl.
No, because it wasn't for me.
Yeah. Well, you're next. So
They know my
well, they
answer.
do, but they don't.
Come on. We want to
So
hear.
it varies time to time, but the cigar I smoke the most of is definitely the Aladino Vintage Selection Rothschild, and it has to be that size. It is like a 4.5 by 52. That size is right up my alley. The flavor profile is great. It's got a Habano and Corojo wrapper. There's 2 wrappers on it, which makes it like this special kind of dirty.
Oh, you're getting all kinds
Yeah.
of flavors.
It's really good.
You're my
Although
new best friend.
I will take that friend request every day of the week.
We must smoke together.
Yes, we must. Okay, write that down.
Write that down. Corey's like, yay, the day somebody actually
I
wanted
tell you
me
what,
there.
so Sam does not love. So we talk about ingredients. Like my wife loves mushrooms. I hate them. Right. Like that's just one of those things.
shame.
It's divisive. I love the Aladino. Oh Jesus! I'm gonna shit the bed here on brain farts. Help me out.
Corojo?
The Corojo Aladino, which is like the legitimate original Corojo. It's very unique and in your face and super good. I
don't
smoked
like
an
it.
Elegante the other day. Yeah, no, he doesn't. It's an ingredient that he doesn't care for. But dude, I smoked the Elegante the other day and just It's been a long time since I've had that.
It was a
It's our
Maduro, right?
Lancero. No, I've got one
Oh,
of
the
each.
vintage. Okay.
This was the original Aladino Corojo and the Lancero. That cigar was absurdly good. There's something about that ingredient that sticks out when you have a lot of things that use similar ingredients. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just something that's like, oh, this is different. It's unique. It's incredible. This thing's starting to look like an Oreo.
That looks gross. So I'll continue on with myself. Cigars. My favorite for a long time was the Camacho Triple Maduro. Now, I
This
really
is the
am
first one I put you
enjoying
on.
the Roma Craft Cro-Magnon. Really great cigar, like super strong.
That's because his
You know
brain
what
is
sucks?
underdeveloped.
What?
The boxes of the Cro-Magnon I have are the last ones that they sent out. I bought all of the remaining inventory of the current Connecticut broadleaf. They're switching to a PA broadleaf wrapper because you can't get the quality anymore, and they're going to change.
Push the button.
How many do you
So-
have left?
Wow.
So whatever you have left, my wife will kill me, but I'll buy them.
No, we might want to try them here at Liberty Ball.
No,
We have a new.
I'll
bidder
sell
right
you
off.
one. I'll trade you a couple cigars for a couple bottles of whiskey.
You're about to feel like Jeff Scales paying $50 for a Cigar Junkies T-shirt. I think is what's going to
I
happen.
will tell you guys this. It's Skip Martin. I guarantee you. I haven't had
It's
it.
gonna
And
be
I
good.
guarantee you his new
It's
blend
gonna
is
be
going to be just as good. The quality is going to be all there. So, like, the guy is... look, he's
That's
so
your house
good.
blend,
He's
just
so
as
good. He could work at Liberty Pool. Like, he's that level. All right. You see what I did there? Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna say welcome to the new members to the group. Is that Devin? Devin Ensign, Lauren, Bob Askin. What the hell is going on with your names, people? Clifford Ruth and Xavier Pops. That's a cool name. That name definitely pops out. Thanks for hanging out with us. I want to extend a special thank you, of course, to Jim, Ellen, and Kevin for joining us on the show. Even if they don't take you on family vacations, they invited you on the podcast, and that's all that matters.
I appreciate that.
This has been an incredible experience. Probably one of the top 5 best episodes that we've ever recorded. This is a really good one to share out there to your friends. I think this has been a great experience, even though the intern's still slipping. Join us every Sunday at 9:30 a.m. is our typical time where we will broadcast to the Facebook group live. Sam, say your thing.
Salut.
Salut.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Sincere
This was
thanks from our
awesome.
end.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
This was a lot of fun.